Salaam listeners, good evening. You're listening to Friday Night Prime with myself, Amir Fasial, and my co-host for the first half, Brother Taqiyya Sethi. Forgot your surname.
That's all right.
Assalamu alaikum, bro. How are you?
Wa alaikum salam. Alhamdulillah.
Had a good week?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, glad it's over though.
I
right?
certainly am, yeah.
I think me, you and Brother Fasial feel the same way this week. It's been a bit of a weird week. But thank you for joining us, listeners. As usual, we're here for you every Friday at 9 p.m, inshallah, on Salaam Radio 106.2 FM. A warm welcome, as always, to our Inspire FM listeners in Luton on 105.1 and our new listeners, inshallah, via the LRB digital network throughout Leicestershire and central London. We're always Facebook Live for you. We're on YouTube Live, online at salamradio.co.uk, and of course via our iPhone and Android apps. Always on air for you 24/7, 365, uniting all communities. Salaam Radio is all about creating unity and harmony within the Muslim wider community, delivering the positive message of true Islam, and of course promoting peace and harmony. Please do make sure you follow us on our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and of course you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search for us on for Salaam Radio on YouTube and you will find us loud and proud. So please do follow us on all our social media. And as usual, you can get involved in the show today via WhatsApp on 07745 278 978, or you can give us a call and come through to the studio on 01733 602 133. Or if you're listening on Facebook Live and watching on Facebook Live, you can send us a Facebook Live message. We have got people watching those messages come in. And we've got another great show lined up for you this week. Coming up at 9:30 at the halfway point, we're going to be chatting, Brother Fasial and I will be chatting with Zain Mia, who was recently named amongst London's top 12 for their courage and compassion. Zain is a project manager for Grenfell Muslim Response Unit, and Zain and his team have been working tirelessly to provide support for the victims of the Grenfell Tower fire. So do stay tuned for that. That's at 9:30, our halfway point. And before that, coming up in a few minutes, myself and Brother Taqiyya are going to be chatting with the wonderful Rashid Bika, son of Zain Bika. Rashid is a superb artist with an extensive career in music already at a very tender age, and his debut album is called Degrees of Separation. And this track is one of my favourites from the album, and this is the beautiful track called Time.
Driving past, walking fast to the field of dreams. Hear the children scream. Every corner represents a different image in my mind. A momentary emotion, space banked in time. Memories fade like a dusty window pane, and you can't see your past no more. The only thing that remains is that feeling of warmth in your heart that will always be there. Be there. An immortal smile stays only for a while, but down the line it strengthens us inside. We all live the illusion of many days to come, now realizing that tomorrow lies with God, the only one, the only one. Time goes by on the wings of a butterfly, and what goes with it is all that you have. So take the best of every moment, take the best of every man, then move on and don't ever look back. Don't look back.
Mashallah, that was Rashid Bika with a lovely, beautiful track from his first album, Degrees of Separation. That's one of my favourites from his varied album of 7 wonderful tracks, and that's called Time. Now, before we speak to him, let me introduce Rashid to you. He's no stranger to the artistic and creative world, and he was exposed to life as an artist since childhood as the son of course, acclaimed singer and songwriter Zain Bika, who we've had on the show before and interviewed in great detail, and I remember it very fondly. And over and above Rashid's extensive music career, he's completed a degree in cinematography, mashallah, and is already well known as a singer and rapper, having appeared on stage in countries around the world. And he received acclaim for his performances in London at the Royal Albert Hall with Cat Stevens in 2004, and went on to become famous through songs such as Drug Free, Heartbeat and Broken. And he's performed, of course, with his father and as a solo artist since the tender age of 8, mashallah. So without further ado, let's speak to Brother Rashid now. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah so much for having me on the show, man.
Oh, not at all. Jazakallah for joining us. It's an absolute honour to have...
No problem, man. No problem.
I really appreciate it. And this is a show that we try and speak to many up-and-coming and obviously established artists such as yourself on Friday Night Prime. And because it's something we like to bring our listeners is, insights into the artists that we all listen to on a day-to-day basis.
Of course, of course.
Great. Well, listen, myself and Brother Tokir are going to be asking you a few questions for about 20 minutes or so, inshallah, just to try and get some insights from you about your career to date, and of course the album that I've been listening to, mashallah. It's a great piece of work. So this album, it's your debut album, Degrees of Separation. What was the inspiration behind this, Rashid?
Well, the album itself was kind of a culmination of a lot of events throughout my life, throughout my career, and I just decided, I finished, I completed my studies, and then afterwards I said, no, I think it'll be good to kind of release an album and focus fully on, the EP that I released, and so far the feedback's been pretty good, and it's been a real journey, but it's been a good one, mashallah.
No, mashallah, it's a great album. I've been listening to it of late on usual music streaming services without naming the name of the service. You can probably guess. But no, it's great, and it's quite a varied piece of work, isn't it? In terms of the difference between the tracks are quite they're quite glaring. You've got some rap on there, and you've got some music instruments on there which are quite contemporary, and then you've got the track that we've just heard, Time, which is of course just a piano and your beautiful voice, mashallah. So was that was that a conscious decision to have that variation between the tracks?
I think the main thing for this album specifically was trying to tap into different kind of genres, which is what we managed to achieve. I mean, I was working with a fantastic producer from Nashville in the States.
Okay.
And we kind of just decided that instead of just ticking the boxes of just a R&B or like a rap album, we kind of decided that it would be better in terms of exploring the different options and the different genres of music. So I think that was a good conscious decision that we did both make together. And my dad obviously gave a lot of input with regards to the songs, and we tweaked a lot of the songs together. We wrote a lot of the songs together. So I think the feedback has been good, definitely. And we just basically wanted to kind of find my sound as well, because I haven't released a solo album ever, and we just decided that now was the time, and from there we just it was kind of the spur of the moment thing where we decided to add in a few different tracks, kind of change the dynamics of the album, obviously, and change it from the rap tracks to kind of, I'm still as an artist, you know, you can never say that you've really reached your potential, or you've kind of tapped into the sound that you've been looking for. So we were just kind of experimenting a lot on this album.
Well, it works well, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Rashid.
Yeah. Walaikum salam. How are you, brother?
Alhamdulillah, I'm well. Very well, thank you. First of all, I just wanted to say we met briefly last January when we came to Leicester. I don't know if you can remember. But,
Yes.
I really enjoyed your live performance. It was brilliant, with of course with your father and with Dawood as well.
Yes.
It was great.
Yeah, no, it was a great tour. It was, you know, it's such an honor to obviously be back in the UK after such a while.
Okay.
And I think people obviously didn't expect, you know, such a different kind of sound from me, because obviously they've seen me in the past performing rap songs and R&B songs, and then I kind of tested out the waters with Love Can Save a Life, and
I actually really enjoyed that song.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good song.
Yeah, that song there, it's, you know, my dad and I wrote it together, and we just decided, like, to change the music dynamic as well, because it doesn't follow a set structure. So, so yeah, it's been a journey, man.
Wow. Now, coming back to the album, how long have you been writing this? And you mentioned that you obviously wrote some of it with your father.
Yeah.
I mean, was most of it written by yourself, or was it in collaboration with your father?
Most of them were written in collaboration with my dad, and obviously other artists. We have another artist in the States, Khalil Ismail.
Oh yeah,
which is a phenomenal writer and musician and rapper as well.
So he's on the track Believe, isn't he?
Yes. He's on the track Believe. And funny story actually. Believe. I wrote ages ago. I think we had a tour sometime a few years ago, and we were actually on tour as well again. And the driver that was actually taking us around, he just played this simple guitar riff, and then from there my dad came up with the first lines of the song "Run Away From My Fears," and then it just kind of stuck with me. And then I got back to South Africa and I completed the song, and then we kind of left it for quite a while. We were trying to find the right sound for the song. And then we sent it to Khalil, and yeah, man, he just he really made magic with that track by adding the rap and obviously the structure and stuff as well.
Amazing.
Wow, it is amazing really to hear how a song comes together, and sometimes how far back you have to go in someone's life to see where the song originated from. That's brilliant.
Of course, man. I think like also in terms of Believe, we've been working on the song for at least about 4 or 5 years, trying to find the right sound, trying to find the right structure for the song as well. So it's been a journey, but I couldn't be happier with obviously the product that we put out.
Alhamdulillah. That's great. You know, the album, I was reading the album notes, and the album breaks away from the nasheed genre, but with strong, to quote, philosophical messages that still address the power of God and the afflictions of human nature. But does the album title reflect this? And also does the title reflect to highlight you as an artist in your own right, away from your father's success? Was that the reason for the album name?
Yes. Well, basically the philosophy behind the album was 6 degrees of separation. It's obviously a lot less now, but that everyone is connected between these 6 degrees of separation. So you always find where someone says, "Oh yes, I met this one person and they knew you," and you know, so it's always like knowing someone that knows someone. So yeah, that's basically how the album name came about, Degrees of Separation.
Oh, mashallah, it's a great name. It's a great name.
Now, you've been performing since you were 8 years old with your father.
Yes.
And did you always know that you were going to go into music? And going into music, did you always think that you were going to either follow in his footsteps or kind of like move off and create your own style of music?
No, I mean, in terms of mine and my dad's relationship as well, my dad always never encouraged me to do music full-time. Which is why I obviously got a degree. Wow. But it's more so of a hobby in terms of just doing something that I love, and also just putting good positive messages out there for people to obviously relate to and connect with.
Wow, wow. So this hobby's actually become a first debut album for you, which is great.
Yes, yes. No, of course.
And going back to the feedback you've had so far, you mentioned the positive feedback, alhamdulillah, that you received for the album. What kind of personal impact has it had on some of your fans or some of the people you might know? I mean, have people said that one particular song has stood out lyrically for them and had an impact on their lives? Have you had any sort of feedback like that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people really enjoy the track Love Can Save a Life. I think people really tend to connect with that, especially with all of the atrocities and bloodshed that's happening in the world of today. You know, it's actually crazy how people are being oppressed, especially Muslim people.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people really connect with that song, because essentially people know that us as humanity, the one quality that we could do with more is love. And I think a lot of people have really responded well to Love Can Save a Life.
Yeah.
I have released 2 versions of that song as well.
Yes.
And I partnered with Islamic Relief with the video, and obviously, you know, showing all of the good work that they are doing out there. But yeah, the feedback has been really positive. I mean, a lot of the people enjoy the kind of the musical compilation that happens in all of the songs. Actually, you can listen to a song like Heartbeat. That's a completely different take on the song, and then you can listen to something like Time, which is completely and unique and different.
Exactly.
And I think people just really appreciate the music for what it is. And the dynamics of the album.
Yeah, no, it really is. It's a pleasure to listen to. I think it's a short album. I think it's 7 tracks, right? I think it's about 7.
Yes.
And but the variations, as I was saying before, between the tracks, it really makes for a pleasurable listening experience, I would say. But
yes.
If we can rewind for a moment, brother, can we talk about the night that you performed at the world famous Royal Albert Hall in 2004 with Cat Stevens, Yusuf Islam. I mean, for most people, as an artist, performing at the Royal Albert Hall is the pinnacle of their career, right? For most.
Yes.
But can you talk us through how that came about and what was that like? I mean, it must have been overwhelmingly fantastic, I would imagine.
No, I mean, I was really, really young, so I didn't really understand the magnitude of such a established event and such an established venue as well.
Right.
But how it basically came about was when Yusuf Islam was doing his album I Look I See. He was actually speaking to my dad, and he was wondering he needed a voice of a boy or a girl.
Okay.
To sing a few of the songs. So my dad was trying to find someone, and then he said, "Why don't you try Rashid? He might surprise you or something." So then Yusuf Islam had a listen to my voice, and he said, "Oh, I think it's a different take, and I think it's a good sound." And then it just kind of all happened really quickly. I was actually so young, so I didn't really understand what an influential musician he was at the time. Looking back. And obviously, following his career now, a lot of people have been so influenced and so touched by all of his music that he has put out there.
Yeah.
And I think at the time it was definitely I didn't expect anything like this, and we have to be grateful for everything that's happened. And I mean, my dad. He took a gamble with me,
and it paid off.
It paid off. Absolutely.
Yeah,
mashallah.
Yeah. No. It's mashallah. At least it was the right time. I suppose the timing was perfect for that.
Absolutely. And on that note, we're talking about London, but do you have any plans to perform in the UK again anytime soon? Is that on your agenda in the near future, or maybe later?
Well, I think we might actually have a tour just before Ramadan, inshallah, next year.
Wow.
So I'm really looking forward to that as well. Coming to London and to the UK, it's just a nostalgic feeling, man. It's like coming home.
Oh wow! Now, obviously, you've just released your first album. Have you started to think about your next album and any possible message behind that?
Well, I haven't been really thinking about releasing another album yet. I think I need to definitely do a lot more with this album. I haven't really toured much.
Okay.
In terms of getting the album out there and let people, like, connect with the messages and all of that stuff. But I really do hope to travel a lot more, and obviously just get the album out there and just let people hear what I have to say in terms of my music and my career, and just let people connect in terms of that. But it's very difficult because I know it's one of the questions that people always tend to ask me is it a Rashid and Zayn Bika, or is it just a Rashid Bika? And I think that's probably the hardest thing that I've obviously encountered, is that people generally always associate me and my dad together.
Right.
And that's also part of the reason why I released the album, the solo album, and obviously maybe not even having my dad as a feature, but he's been on every song in the background as a vocalist, on the chorus and stuff like that. So it's kind of a internal battle that I've been facing, trying to break away from that. That's also why I decided to take a different approach with the album and not let it be categorized as a nasheed. Instead, let it be categorized as more of a like an indie folk music, so that anyone can listen to it and anyone can connect with it and see that there's Muslim people out here that have certain views and perspectives, and it's not all the negative and all this negativity that the media is putting out there and saying Muslim people are bad and things like this. It's just a lot of emotions and a lot of events that have put this together.
Wow. So I suppose this album is defining you as an artist, isn't it?
Yes.
Because as great as your relationship obviously is with your father, you must, I don't know if you must feel you're under his shadow, not in a negative way, but is this is this helping you to come out and be your own self kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very big shoes to fill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being the son of Zayn Bika, people kind of have this expectation, but with expectation, there's also a chance where you might provide something completely different, and people are surprised by it.
Absolutely.
And I think people are coming to realize that it's not so much that we do songs together that have a certain nasheed genre around it, but also that I do have songs of my own as well that speak to people and just spread different kinds of messages.
Wow. I mean, so what do you think your aspirations are for the next decade? Where do you think you're going to be in 10 years' time? Because you've talked about how music is a hobby for you. And do you think this, because you said you got a degree, is this going to move into something a little bit more full-time? Is this going to become, more and more apparent in your life?
Well, like my dad always says, you shouldn't do music full-time. So it's definitely a thing that I think about, because it is definitely more of a hobby for me.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, in the next 10 years or so, I would like to tour a lot more. I would like to get the album a lot more. I'm speaking in terms of like the next 5 years or 4 years.
Yeah.
And then from there, if anything does happen, if I'm inspired or whatever, I will keep writing, continue to write. And obviously, one of the greatest things about being the son of Zayn Bika is that you have such a great mentor that you could just say, "Hey, Dad, look, I'm really writing this song. I could really use your help." And he's more than accommodating. He's always pushed me. He's always made sure that I do better than the good job. That's what we always say. Because people tend to think that the good job is the ultimate. It's like, good job. But it's not so. You need to continually push the boundaries, and you need to find your own niche within this whole industry and stuff like that.
Brother, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you.
No, Jazakallah, thank you.
And thanks for those wonderful insights into your career and more importantly, from my perspective, your album, which is a wonderful piece of work. I urge all our listeners to do take a listen. It's called Degrees of Separation, debut album from Rashid Bika, and it's available on all streaming services and of course downloads and all that. So please do check it out. Brother Rashid, thank you so much. Inshallah, we look forward to seeing you perform live before Ramadan next year, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Jazakallah. Thank you so much for having me on the show, guys.
Jazakallah, brother. Assalamu alaikum. So that was Rashid Bika, amazing artist. Do stay with us. We're going to be back in 4 minutes with Zain Mia, inshallah.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.
Sadly, millions of orphans living in the poorest countries lack the necessary support for a healthy childhood. These children have to endure lives of hardship without the basic necessities that will help them to grow, to learn, to live. Let's show them that we do care. Let's brighten up their future. Call 0161 225 0225 or visit humanappeal.org.uk.
Do you like the idea of being a radio presenter? Have you got a great idea for a show? Why not get in touch with us? We are always looking for enthusiastic, committed and professional individuals to join our team of volunteer presenters. Send us an email to info@salamradio.co.uk and we'll be in touch. You could be on air sooner than you think.
Third world and developing countries are home to some of the most vulnerable children on the planet. Malnutrition, severe lack of medical aid and access to clean water are just some of the horrific challenges faced by orphans across Africa and Asia. Children of Adam, a Peterborough charity, need your help to bring aid to these orphans for just £25 a month. To sponsor an orphan or assist with other projects, please call 0300 321 0032 or visit www.childrenofadam.net.
Do you have lots of clutter at home or in the office that needs to be kept but nowhere to keep it? Ivet Self-Storage offers a secure, affordable, clean and dry home for your belongings. We have security systems in place which are monitored 24 hours a day, ensuring that your items are safe. With a simple monthly payment, Ivet Self-Storage provides secure and tailored facilities to meet your specific requirements, whether short or long term. We offer the best prices and longest opening hours in Peterborough. For more information, please call on 01733 306 456 or visit us at Ivet Way, Westwood.
Iqra Academy is the only Muslim girls' school in Cambridgeshire where your daughter will develop her knowledge of Islam and the national curriculum in a safe environment. Ofsted has judged the teaching and learning, leadership and management, pupil behaviour and personal development as good in June 2017. Iqra Academy's qualified staff teach in small classes, and the school is producing sports teams who have a track record of succeeding at national level. With reduced fees and a good rating 3 times from Ofsted, why not consider Iqra Academy for your daughter? Enroll now to avoid disappointment. Please contact 01733 331 433 or email admin@iqraacademy.org.uk.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. It saddens me when I see brothers and sisters being gangster wannabes, not praying like they should, hanging on the street corners in the hood, fighting over gang turf like something out of Smurfs, hanging out like thugs, drinking alcohol and taking drugs, trying to be like 50 cents, but on the last day he ain't gonna be worth 50 pence. Even when it's Ramadan they don't give two about Islam. They'd rather live their twisted ideologies, but on the last day there won't be time for apologies. They're trying to be the next best thing, but listen carefully to my linguistic sting. Islam ain't just for Fridays. If you think that, prepare to be set ablaze. So keep hold of your Islam and follow the Islamic clan. The reward in the hereafter is going to be greater. So keep Islam, because we all going to die sooner or later. Don't kid yourself into thinking you're still young. Indeed, this is Shaitan's tongue.
This is Salaam Radio, Peterborough's Muslim community radio. Broadcasting on 106.2 FM and online.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Friday Night Prime with me, Amir Salaam, and my co-host, Brother Fasial Mahmood. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. How are you?
I'm lucky to have two co-hosts this week. That's a first. But Brother Fasial is joining me for an interview with a very impressive young brother, Zain Mia, who we're going to speak to in a few moments. You are listening, of course, on Salaam Radio 106.2 FM, and a warm welcome, as always, to our listeners in Luton on Inspire 105.1, and the listeners, of course, via the LRB digital network throughout Leicestershire and central London, and to our viewers, inshallah, on Facebook Live or YouTube Live. So welcome to you all. If you want to get involved with the show, please do get in touch. 07745 278 978 is our WhatsApp number for your messages, or you can give us a call and come through to the studio on 01733 602 133. Now, Zain Mia was recently named amongst London's top 12 for their courage and compassion, mashallah. And Zain is a project manager for the Grenfell Muslim Response Unit, a project hosted by the National Zakat Foundation, and the project supports all those affected by the fire and continues to serve families with various service needs. Assalamu alaikum, Zain, and welcome to the show.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Jazakallah. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, not at all. Thanks for joining us. It's an honour to have you on. You know, you've been in the press lately with a very impressive award that you've received in terms of being named one of those top 12 for courage and compassion, which we'll ask you to elaborate on in a moment, exactly what that means and what it is, what it means to those 12 people. But I suppose the first question is, for me, is your involvement with the Grenfell Muslim Response Unit, you know, a very, very worthwhile project. What inspired you to get involved, and what was the story that led up to that? And have you carried out anything similar to this, either previous to that or alongside it?
Sure. That's a brilliant first question. And actually, in order to answer that, I have to go. It's 4.5, 5 months now since the Grenfell Tower fire happened. On the 14th of June. It was actually one day before my birthday.
Oh,
and and I guess it started off really like many things these days with a WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
And kind of when the fire was happening throughout the night, kind of before this, kind of there was no project. The project didn't exist. And I used to just work as a consultant for various different organizations and charities.
Okay.
And when the fire happened, really, loads of kind of young brothers and sisters, they came forward throughout a call, and kind of by the end of kind of the morning, we had about 40, 45 people on this WhatsApp group, which we called a unified response, really to symbolize the community's kind of unification in this tragedy.
Yeah.
And kind of, I guess, what it was is that we knew that many of the charities, many organizations, and many Muslims and the wider community were going to respond. And what we wanted to do was just really try and organize that. So even though it's chaos, it's a bit of an organized chaos.
Right.
And alhamdulillah, throughout the day, what happened is we realized that actually, we were out there, we were on the ground, and the wider community, they were very, very generous. I'm sure you've heard the news, I'm sure you read the reports of people bringing loads of tin cans and food and other things. But what we very quickly realized was that people needed a lot more than tin can foods, because they had nowhere to stay. They needed access to cash, they needed access to shelter, they needed food, like hot food, they needed clothing and other kind of materials and resources.
Yeah.
And really, with those people on that group, we managed to really access a lot of those resources. Inshallah, in a bit, I'll elaborate a bit more on kind of all the various things we did.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting. And please feel free to elaborate on that now while we're on the topic, because
sure.
I think our listeners would certainly be, I know I am, certainly intrigued to know just how much effort has gone into this response unit and continuing to be done, right? I mean, it's not, the work hasn't stopped, it's ongoing.
No, of course. It is ongoing. I mean, if I go back to that day, really, right? In the morning, I'll give you some quick snapshots of different things we were doing.
Yeah.
I remember about 2, 3 a.m. there was a centre called Westway Centre, right? This is where a lot of the families that the council and government and police and firefighters had taken people to, like relatives of those who were deceased. Well, at the time they didn't know, but they took them to this centre, and we very quickly realised and kind of one of the things to highlight here is that everyone that we had with us, they weren't there just to help. They were there to serve these people.
Right.
And we found ourselves at 2, 3 a.m. taking these people from the center. We used to drive them to a student accommodation. So there was this lady who very, very kindly offered us 40, really good sheltered accommodation.
Wow.
And she just gave it to us. So alhamdulillah, we managed to put people into those because we knew, they don't want to be sleeping around on the floor. Ramadan Tent Project, brilliant organization.
Yeah.
They helped us distribute about 3,000 meals. So this went to the survivors. Actually, as I speak, even till now, food is still being delivered to people who are still in hotels, because we know, first of all, you can get very sick of having the same food over and over again in the hotel.
Sure.
Secondly, to accommodate the different diets we need, such as halal food or kosher or other things like that.
Yeah.
But the work is still going on, and one of the saddest things is I have unfortunately had to be part of the many burials and funerals that we've had as part of Grenfell Tower.
Wow.
I think if I count from the top of my head, I've been part of 46 funerals and burials. That's 46 individuals. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster. It's sometimes we find ourselves in the center helping someone, just access, for example, someone to help them with legal issues. Sometimes we find ourselves helping, someone open their bank account again or retrieving their passport because they've lost in the fire. This was very much in the early stages. But right now, I mean, there's two things really on my mind. The first thing is kind of any more funerals and burials that are yet to happen.
Yeah.
And actually something even more, I think, that concerns me even more is if we don't find any remains from our family. There is one family actually that comes to my mind. Unfortunately, we haven't found the father and the two brothers yet.
Wow.
That means we haven't found any remains, and I'm really worried that we might not. And the questions we have to answer are things like, what does that mean for the family? What does that mean for us? What do we exactly do? Yeah.
It's it's a humbling experience to say the least, but it must ground you in such a shocking way, and it must put everything into perspective more than we can imagine. I mean, getting involved in projects like this, it must be life-changing to an extent. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine your outlook on life is certainly changed having been exposed to the horrors of what this tragedy brought, right?
Of course. I think something quite remarkable, and many people have asked me this as well, and I've reflected on quite a bit. A lot of people kind of keep asking me, am I okay, simply because of obviously the funerals and burials.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to go, whether I go pick up the bodies or help some of the family members at the burial or whatever it is. And everyone kind of asks me, how are you doing? Are you okay, etc. And subhanAllah, it is, alhamdulillah, praise be to Allah, because it's really something that's unique. And what's unique about it is that last year, August 29th, I buried my father. He suffered from 2 different cancers for about 3 years. And actually, that was the first ever funeral or burial that I was involved in my whole life.
Okay.
And I was 26 then.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that if I didn't go through that experience itself, I wouldn't have been prepared for all of this. But very much so. I think every single time we're at the graveyard, or every single time we speak to a family, every single time we're helping someone move into the new temporary accommodation, it really helps us reflect that your life can change overnight, and that's what happened for many of these people.
Absolutely.
And I think it's the harder thing to accept is that many of these people have to now really start over, because for some of us who are at home, if we lose someone, life still somewhat continues. You still have other people around you. You still have some of your belongings that are quite sentimental to you. You still have the memories, and you still can kind of get some normality back. But people like Hassan comes to mind, and I'm sure you saw the video that went viral on Facebook of Rania Ibrahim,
yes,
the sister from the 23rd floor.
Yeah.
And for someone like him, he has such strong faith. He keeps telling us about, he talks about his daughter, he talks about his wife. But for someone like him who has lost his children, has lost his wife, has lost everything he ever had, it's really, really, it really does ground you, and it really makes you think, that you can't have hold on to anything that you have around you. You have to really be thankful and appreciative of every single thing that you have and everyone you have around you.
Absolutely, brother. It really is. It's a horrible tragedy, and one that was going to stay with us all, right, for the rest of our lives and beyond. And the work that you and so many others are doing is goes without saying, right? It's commendable, and may Allah reward you all for the excellent work that you're doing and have done for these individuals. Now, obviously, there's a huge number of volunteers that have been involved in helping these victims. And I suppose a question that I think Brother Faisal, my co-host, want to ask about volunteering in the community, we wanted to ask you to have your kind of first-hand experience on.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. How are you?
Alaikum salam, alhamdulillah. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. The question that I had was, do you feel us as a Muslim community do enough to volunteer to contribute back into British society? And also, off the back of that, do you think we should do more to encourage volunteering and community work? If so, what sort of advice would you give to community activists and leaders? And it's a long question, but...
No, that's actually, I was hoping you would ask something along those lines, simply because the last 5 months, alhamdulillah, previous to this project, I did a lot of UK projects, but actually, if I'm really, really honest, 75% of my time was spent on, international things abroad. But alhamdulillah, I've had this opportunity because it's really showed me, we look at, places like London, we look at places like Peterborough, all of these different places, and we don't really see the hardship that people are actually facing in our communities. We don't actually get to see inside people's homes the different hardships they're facing in terms of being able to put food on the table, being able to, we actually, just yesterday I was with a brother, and he's a teacher, and he was telling me that he has students who come to school hungry, who come to school with very dirty uniform because they can't afford to actually, clean those. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, I think as a community, as especially a Muslim community and an Asian community, we give, alhamdulillah, a lot of charity. But I think there's a difference between giving charity and actually, coming forward and using your own hands, to actually make a change and difference. But more so, I think, as much as we need to really, really focus and give to countries abroad, such as, the Rohingya or the Syria, or all these other different countries that are in turmoil, I think one part that we lack in and that we sometimes tend to forget is our own, deprived communities here. And actually, it saddens me to say that, just in the last kind of 5 months, Grenfell Tower was a very, very vibrant tower. But about 70% or 80% of the people who habited that tower were Muslims. And it only took Grenfell Tower to make us realize actually that the Muslims in that community were very, very deprived. Actually, statistics tell us that actually 1 in 5 Muslims, are living below the poverty line in the UK. And if you look at statistics, Muslims, and it's nothing to do with our religion, but Muslims are by far in the UK, the poorest. And it just, I guess, begs the question that are we doing enough here at home to make sure that our communities are stable and empowered to be able to grow? We should, of course, we should do it for international, but I think we need to concentrate a bit more here. And one of the ways I think is by volunteering. So I think we can do a bit more here at home.
Yeah, I think one of the common mistakes that we make as a community is we assume that the government provides everything for everyone. And I know, Brother Amir, you're involved in the food bank locally, and sometimes we get people coming in and you don't expect it. You always have an assumption that you'll get these type of people coming in, but you don't realize that it's just the average person going through difficulties.
It's all walks of life.
All walks of life, yeah.
And that's the shocking state of affairs, frankly. That we're
and it doesn't. And one of the things, sorry, brother, to interject there.
Sure.
It doesn't take. I've seen people in my line of work who have gone from like one side of the spectrum to the other literally within a week.
Yep.
And unfortunately, you know, the status quo, and people kind of generalize that the person must have done something to get to this place. You know, maybe they did, intoxications, or maybe they did, something crime, or etc., etc., and it must have led there.
Sure.
But what people don't realize actually that, you know, sometimes it takes some hardship to come into your life, such as someone passing away. You know, the cost of even a burial in this country today ranges from about 3,000 to 6,000.
That's right.
You know, now if you're someone who's not that well off and you haven't saved, just someone passing away can really flip the whole table, you know, on its head.
Absolutely.
And can put you in that situation. So I hope as a community we'll focus a lot more on our neighbours, you know, our neighbours who are right next to us.
Inshallah. I think we definitely need to do that. We're lacking, and this is something we've said on this show many times actually, is that the lack of volunteering is becoming apparent in our communities where we live. So that needs to change. I agree with you 100%.
Of course.
Yeah. Brother, you know, we've got about 10 minutes left, actually shy of 10 minutes, but I'd like to talk now onto something slightly more positive, still related to the work you've done, which is obviously the being named one of, you know, the top 12 Muslims for compassion and courage. I mean, can you talk us around that? I mean, how did that come about, and what was the whole experience like, and the event itself, and just give us a kind of understanding of your experience of that.
Sure. I guess, I mean, the Evening Standard has been really, really supportive of the kind of overall Grenfell Tower situation. I mean, they raised about 4.6 million through their Evening Standard Dispossessed Fund.
Yeah.
And the project that we started, the Grenfell Muslim Response Unit, which serves kind of all the faiths and all backgrounds, Evening Standard chose us as one of the organizations to distribute some of those funds.
Okay.
That's how they first came to kind of learn about us. They saw us on the ground. They said, look, you guys seem like you know what you guys are doing. You guys seem to know some of the families, and a lot of the survivors talked about you. So literally they came and said, look, we've got loads of cash. Can you give it out? And we said, yeah, sure, why not? We can give it out. We've got loads of people who need cash, and by all means, we'd be very appreciative of giving it out. And I guess that was the first encounter. And since then, obviously, we've kept in touch. In terms of like the kind of the Progress 1000, they invited us to a kind of day where they were kind of asking us questions.
Yeah.
Now, they kind of asked us questions around how's the distribution going, how's this and that. So I was expecting some kind of an article to come out, like, this is what's happening, this is what's gone out, etc.
I'll just stop you for a second and let our listeners know about the Progress 1000, because not everyone's not going to know. So Progress 1000 celebrates 1,000 Londoners for their contributions to diverse fields, including the arts, design, architecture, politics, food, fashion and business. So just to let them understand exactly what the Progress 1000 is. But please do carry on. Thank you.
Sure. And I guess, like, I was expecting some kind of an article. They did take a picture, and I thought that some kind of an article would come out about the progress of kind of what's happening with their fund, etc.
Yeah.
And then it seems like, I mean, on the day when the article came out, they had invited us to a dinner, in quotation marks. So they said, look, you're going to be joining us for this dinner. So I thought, fine, we could join you for this dinner.
Yeah.
And then about 9 a.m. that morning, they sent me the link to this article about the top 12. And that image that you see is actually brilliantly photoshopped, because I never stood next to those people.
Oh, really?
No, but it was brilliantly photoshopped.
Wow.
But yeah, I guess the event was quite out of my depth, in the sense that, I mean, I was in a room full of people, and many kind of reporters and celebrities, and actually, like, I wouldn't even put it past if, you know, like, there was about 200-300 different celebrities in that room.
Wow.
And it felt quite surreal, like, to stand on a stage, have the mayor and George Osborne kind of just name kind of 12 people.
Yeah.
And kind of, I think a part of me felt guilty, in the sense that I knew that, you know, this award is more than me. It's a lot of people who have supported me. You know, a gentleman called Omar Salho, who played in the game for Grenfell, he's been by my side 24 hours for the last 5 months.
MashaAllah.
I've had loads of other volunteers from different organizations, different institutions, who have always come forward, you know, whatever we needed, whether it's drop here or this or that, they've supported. But it was quite, I mean, it was held at the Tate Modern.
Oh,
so it's quite a grand,
great venue.
Quite a grand. It is. It's a very grand venue.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it was quite surreal, and I mean, I'm very honoured to have the award, and I hope that if anything, that it allows me to be able to position myself in a way to support our communities even better, but also support the people from Grenfell Town and I am pleased to say that since then I have had I find it a bit easier to get different people's attention now. So I hope I'll use that for the benefit of the community.
Inshallah.
MashaAllah, that's great. I actually had loads of questions for you because, MashaAllah, you're involved in a lot of projects. I did quick research earlier on. And I thought, MashaAllah, this brother, sometimes I think we do a lot, Brother Amir, but MashaAllah, I think you're a different league, Brother Zain.
MashaAllah.
What page of Google did you get to?
No. It was just the first page. I didn't even get to page 2, but I had so much. Alhamdulillah. Basically, one of the projects that I'm quite intrigued about is this Unlimited. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
And its mission is to reach out and unleash the energies of people who transform the world in which they live. I mean, this sounds like a really interesting project. I mean, can you tell us a little bit more about that? And is it exclusive to London or is it UK wide?
So Unlimited is back in 2000. I don't know if you remember when they made the Millennium Dome and they made the Eden Care project. Basically, Cabinet Office had a wad of cash, 100 million to be exact, and they wanted to do something that will have like a lasting impact. And I think today, in today's age, people find it very difficult to understand a balance between charity and business. And kind of what Unlimited aim is basically to really empower social entrepreneurship. So people using business for the benefit of the community. I was very, very fortunate about 2 years ago to go to India. And one of the brothers I met in India had a really, really remarkable project. And what he was doing was he was recycling tires from cars and planes. And he was cutting them into the shape of the soles of shoes.
I remember seeing something like that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. And the reason why he was using plane tires was because of the speed that the plane lands at, it's a smooth finish.
Right.
And what he would do is he would kind of button it together and make shoes out of them. And the people he employed to make the shoes were sisters who were facing domestic violence and abuse. So what he was doing was he was selling these products across the world, making the money, but creating jobs, but also doing environmental benefit. And that kind of Unlimited really, I mean, what it does, it offers grants and support for anyone out there who really wants to combine business and kind of doing good in the community. And it is nationwide. So, listeners in Luton and Peterborough, by all means, they can access support from Unlimited to really position themselves. And I hope, as a Muslim community, we give a lot of charity. 37 million last year, in fact, just in London alone. But one of the things we do lack on is actually social entrepreneurship, really using business to benefit our communities. So by all means, I hope a lot of the listeners will go into that and try and do something around social entrepreneurship.
Is there a website for Unlimited? Or?
Yeah, it's unlimited.org.uk. Simple as that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just to let our listeners know, that's UNLTD. UNLTD.org.uk. That's great, brother. It's a fantastic cause, and I think it's how long's that been going now? How long's that been established?
17 years.
Oh, mashallah.
Yeah, I was part of it for about 5 years.
Yeah.
And my role kind of in it was kind of one of the things that I was trying to spearhead is actually the Asian and Muslim community to become more involved in social entrepreneurship. Because actually with the lowest category to do social entrepreneurship. We do a lot of businesses, we do a lot of curry, we do a lot of good food and stuff, but unfortunately we don't combine it with social entrepreneurship. Yeah,
that's true. Brother, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. Brother Faisal and I really enjoyed talking to you, and you're an example to us all, frankly, inspirational, and I hope more and more people can take a leaf out of your book and obviously the team's book, who have been working well to support and continue to support those survivors of the Grenfell tragedy. It's fantastic to have you on the show, and inshallah we'll keep in touch, because I think there's more we can talk about in future shows. Looking at the research that my colleague has done on you, there's at least an hour's worth more, I think, to talk about.
I think we need you in the studio.
We need to get you in the studio, inshallah. But Jazakallah khair, brother. Absolute pleasure.
Jazakallah, no, thank you so much. And a very quick note, I'm very happy. I was in the studio actually a few months ago, and I'm really pleased Salaam Radio really offers a lot of slots to really good work in the community. So keep it up, and Jazakallah khair for having
Jazakallah khair, brother.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
That was Brother Zain Mia, mashallah. He's done a lot, as you said, right? It really has. We're running out of time, Brother Faisal, already. Unfortunately, we've got 20 seconds left. There's just time really briefly to let you know of an event happening on the 25th of November. This is a Human Appeal Salaam Radio event, Pride of Pakistan. Go onto our Facebook page, because I've not got time to tell you about it. Go onto Salaam Radio on our Facebook page and you'll see all the details for that. Check it out. Inshallah, we'll be with you the same time, same place next week, 9 p.m. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.